Hello and welcome to Shootin' the Breeze. I'm WECT First Alert Chief Meteorologist Scannon Medwick, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you in some new ways and on some new platforms. You're used to seeing me and the First Alert weather team in day-to-day forecasts or severe weather situations. This format will allow a little more breathing room to dive deeper into a wide range of Cape Fear and Carolina weather topics. That said, your time is still valuable, so let's keep things moving and breeze into this episode's trivia question. And in honor of this Atlantic hurricane season we now find ourselves in, the subject of the trivia question is North Carolina hurricanes. Ready? Here goes. What is the most recent hurricane to make a North Carolina landfall to also have its name later retired? Is it A, Hurricane Isaias, B, Hurricane Dorian, C, Hurricane Florence, or D, Hurricane Floyd? I'll have the answer for you in just a few minutes as we wrap up Shootin' the Breeze. In this edition of Forecaster's Notebook, we're going large scale to talk about a cycle that helps drive Atlantic hurricane seasons. It's called the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. That's a mouthful. Let's call it AMO for short. Basically, it's alternating windows about 30 years in length where the base temperature state of the Atlantic is simply more conducive to generating and fueling storms. And here in 2022, we're still in the latter phases of a warm or positive AMO, which jives with what's been a generally active hurricane period that started back in the 1990s. And if you consider recent warm AMO phases and Carolina hurricanes specifically, the correlation is even stronger. Yes, when the AMO is up, Carolina hurricanes are too. From outright landfalls to damaging near misses, the list of disruptive and destructive storms is crazy long. And Hazel, Fran, Floyd, Florence, they're among the heaviest hitters. Now, I think it's important to note that despite its significant statistical relevance to Carolina hurricanes, a down AMO doesn't necessarily mean the Carolinas are in the clear, but the list of notable storms is refreshingly shorter during the cool AMO phases of the last 100+ years. Researchers are noting some early signs that this latest positive AMO phase is getting ready to flip within the next few years. And given the way the AMO seems to stack the deck for Carolina hurricanes, we'd be right to cheer on this change. Your First Alert weather team uses the spoken word, the written word, and numbers to relay weather. And weather icons, sun, clouds, rain, sometimes a combination thereof, are a big part of our communication toolkit as well. In this behind-the-scenes segment, a quick look at how these icons work together with rain percentages to tell a consistent weather story across shifts and across platforms. By convention, your First Alert weather team will almost always show icons with rain when the chance of that rain is 30 or 40% or higher. By the same convention, our icons will almost never explicitly show rain for chances of 20% or less. Of course, it can rain on a 10 or 20% chance day on rare occasions, so you'll always want to take note of the percentage next to the icon. Together, these elements form a consistent language. When thunder roars, head indoors. It's a very important weather safety mantra, but sometimes thunderstorms can put on such an awe-inspiring display, you can't help but take a second look. And the Cape Fear region gets some of the most photogenic storm clouds in the world. In this photographer's corner, I'm talking about shelf clouds. Here's one from Jess Viox in Holden Beach, looming just beyond the bridge. How about this one from David Galloway on the water near Southport, knifing right over a ship? Shelf clouds form from thunderstorms that early on almost exclusively ride on warm or hot updrafts. But if the storms can get together and pool their resources, cool, damp downdrafts begin to take over the storm's structure as they plunge from the heavens and gust outward. Under the right temperature and humidity conditions, a stark, dark, flat cloud called a shelf cloud can form atop the advancing rain-chilled air. These clouds often have crisp, beveled edges, like this fantastic one Susan Yerry caught at Holden Beach. Shelf clouds can form anywhere and in any season in the Cape Fear region, but there are situations that give you a much better chance to meet one. Look for toasty afternoons when thunderstorms form, cluster, and nudge eastward on the inland side of your WECT weather app's interactive radar map. Usually, the sea breeze front will set the edge of these storms' cool outflow and trigger a shelf cloud. And of course, positioning yourself in an open area increases the chance that you'll see that shelf cloud, which is why so many great shelf cloud experiences and brilliant photos I call shelfies come from the intracoastal waterway, the beach, and offshore, places where you can see for miles. And now for the answer to this episode's trivia question. What is the most recent hurricane to make a North Carolina landfall to also have its name retired? First, let's note that the choices A through D are listed in chronological order. But as bumpy as Hurricane Isaias was for the Cape Fear region in 2020, its name was never officially retired. So Isaias may be used again on an Atlantic storm in a few years. Dorian, Florence, and Floyd were all retired though, so if you said Dorian, you're correct. Between September 5th and 6th of 2019, Hurricane Dorian brought nasty squalls and storm surge to much of the North Carolina coast en route to its southern Outer Banks landfall. But Dorian dished its deadliest and most damaging impacts to the Caribbean a few days earlier, sadly nearly leveling the major Bahamian city of Freeport. Yes, even before Dorian touched North Carolina, the hurricane left no doubt that its name would ultimately be retired. I hope you enjoyed this very first episode of Shootin' the Breeze. The goal is to share many more with you, and I want you to be in the conversation. Comment, like, share, and subscribe where applicable, and please connect with me on these platforms if you have a question about a topic you saw here on Shootin' the Breeze, if you have a suggestion for a Cape Fear or Carolina weather topic you'd like to see covered in the future, or if you just want to say hello and what's the good word. And please check out the digital extras from my friends and colleagues here at WECT News, like Cape Fear Weekend's Gabe Show Game Show with Gabe Ross, the One-on-One with John Evans podcast, Button Mashers with Josh Winstead, and more. Just visit WECT.com/anywhere. Please look out for the next episode of Shootin' the Breeze, and I hope I'll see you there.